Hello and welcome to this week's Weekly Rewind episode. This week I have got for you important ruling by Supreme Court in the Lakhimpuri Kheri Violence. I'll also discuss some of the interesting High Court updates and legislation updates, and also our latest feature introduced by SCC Online. Don't forget to watch the video till the end to know the winners of SCC Online quiz. In a big development in the Lakhimpuri Kheri Violence, the three-judge bench of CJI N.V. Ramana and Justices Suryakant and Hema Kohli has cancelled the bail of the accused Ashish Sharma after observing that Allahabad High Court had shown a tearing hurry in entertaining and granting bail to Mishra. Four major factors weighed in with the court while cancelling the bail. First, irrelevant considerations having impacted the impugned order granting bail. Second, the High Court exceeding its jurisdiction by touching upon the merits of the case. Third, the denial of victims' right to participate in the proceedings. And last, the tearing hurry shown by the High Court in entertaining or granting bail to the accused. Last year on October 3rd, the accused Ashish Mishra had allegedly drove into the crowd of the farmers who were protesting in a village in Lakhimpur Kheri district against the farm bills and certain comments made by Ajay Mishra, Union Minister of State for Home. Resultantly, 4 farmers, 1 journalist, the driver of one of the vehicles, and 2 others were killed. Nearly 10 farmers suffered major and minor injuries. After the New Delhi Municipal Corporation launched a demolition drive in Jahangirpuri area, which witnessed communal violence during Hanuman Jayanti last week, the three-judge bench of CJI N.V. Ramana and Justices Krishna Murari and Hema Kohli has ordered that the status quo be maintained till further orders. The Supreme Court had to intervene twice in a single day after the authorities continued to bring down structures despite the stay order. When senior advocate Dushyant Dave brought this to the court notice, the Supreme Court asked the registry to communicate the stay orders to NDMC Mayor, Commissioner and Delhi Police Commissioner. The bench of Justices L. Nageshwar Rao and B.R. Gavai is now hearing the matter, stating that half-truths and misinformation cannot be the basis of publication or telecast. The Kerala High Court expressed that media cannot usurp the jurisdiction of the courts, which alone has the constitutional authority to decide the guilt, innocence of a person or decide on the content, quality or the width of any right available to any citizen or accused. The court observed that the reports telecast having the effect of prejudicing the mankind against the parties and the court before the case is heard clearly interferes with the course of justice. The bench also stated that the media interest or media debate are all permitted in a democracy government by rule of law, subject to one inviolable exception, namely that the media cannot, during the course of trial or investigation, suggest, publish or telecast that A or B is guilty or that C or D is untrustworthy or an honest witness. Observing that the trauma in a marital discord is common to both the parties, the Kerala High Court expressed that as per Section 25 of Hindu Marriage Act, while awarding permanent alimony and maintenance, the husband's income and other property, if any, and the income and property of the wife, conduct of the parties and other circumstances are to be taken into account. While addressing a matter with regard to a wife's right to maintenance, the Delhi High Court expressed that only continuous and repeated acts of adultery or cohabitation in adultery would attract the rigours of provisions under Section 125 Clause 4 of CrPC. The court observed that law mandates that in order to extract the provision under Section 125 Clause 4 of CrPC, the husband has to establish with definite evidence that the wife has been living in adultery, and one or occasion acts of adultery committed in isolation would not amount to living in adultery. Noting that Section 14 of the Hindu Marriage Act intends to discourage the couples from breaking the sacred bond of marriage in haste, the Delhi High Court held that a mandatory 1-year period granted under Section 14 of the Act encourages couple to cool down and give a rethink to preserve their marriage. The High Court expressed that mere denial of sex by one or both the parties to the other cannot be described as an act of exceptional depravity. In a matter of matrimonial discord, the Bombay High Court expressed that when admittedly for whatever reason there was a medical discord and the wife had started residing with the infant child at her parental house barely within 3 years of her marriage, it cannot be accepted of her not to prosecute whatever rights and remedies she has under the law. The High Court added to its observation that filing of maintenance proceeding, a criminal case for harassment, cannot per se be said to be sufficient to jump to a conclusion that filing such proceedings, wife was intending to harass the husband and his relatives. The much debated legislation, the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill, has received the President's assent in order to authorize the law enforcement agencies for taking measurements of convicts and other persons for the purpose of identification and investigation in criminal matters and to preserve records. It shall come into force on such date as the central government may by notification in the official gazette appoint. The central government notified Delhi Municipal Corporation Amendment Act. In an attempt to improvise the constitutional setup of Delhi Municipal Corporation, provisions of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act 1957 have been amended, which will come into force as announced by the central government. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has amended the Nidhi Rules 2014 in order to make prior declaration from the central government mandatory before accepting the deposits for public companies who are desirous to function with Nidhis. It has also increased the minimum paid up equity share capital from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. The Ministry of Finance introduced International Finance Services Centers Authority Fund Management Regulations. These regulations aim to define the powers of the International Financial Services Authority in respect of fund management, which will be applicable from May 2nd. Moving on to our next segment of new feature introduced by SCC Online, that is the Pro Select feature. This is a feature that is a quick way of viewing the documents, either notes or judgments of one court at a time. It is equivalent of selecting a count in the earlier regular method and then clicking on the Only button. It can be likened to the method of selecting documents to view in the desktop application where drop-down is available to help you achieve this selection. Now coming to announcing the SCC Online quiz winners. We asked our viewers that under curated topics, how many topics are covered under corporate and commercial law? So the correct answer is 16 and the winner is Prabh Simran Singh, who answered this quiz on Twitter. Congratulations to the winner. Stay tuned to our next updates of Weekly Rewind.